Welcome back to another episode of the Trials of Life podcast. I'm your host, Marsha Terry. I'm so glad that you're here. On this podcast, we unpack what the trials of life are, what it means to be experiencing trials of life, and dive into basically self-care, because I feel like we're always balancing, trying to decide what's more important, self-care or not. So before we get into this, make sure if you're a new subscriber that you subscribe, hit like, go ahead and share this episode with your friends so that they can become a part of the community. Today's episode is called Restore, Discovering Your Optimal Self Through Restoration. That sounds all fancy for us talking about basically how to achieve balance. Yes, I said that dirty word, balance. I'm so sorry. So I like to also even give a reframe on that word of balance, because it's such a difficult thing, I think, for women who are working, taking care of family, taking care of extended family, your parents, your in-laws, you're juggling work. Like, how do you even balance all of that? Is it possible? I read a book a while ago, and the book basically was like saying, sometimes you just need to drop the ball and let some things go and not be worried about it. So that is a part of the conversation today, and to kind of change how we look at balance or how we achieve harmony in our lives on this journey of self-care. So the last few episodes of the podcast, you know that I've been talking about the self-care framework, and CARE is an acronym. We talked about what the C represents, what the A represents. So if you don't know what those are, you're going to have to go back and listen to the previous podcast so you can figure out what those are. But today, we're going to talk about what R represents, which obviously is restore or restoration. So when we talk about restoration, what does that evoke for you? What images come to mind? I was sitting here thinking, well, when you restore something, like you have a piece of furniture and you want to restore it, what do? You want to make it new. You want to refresh it, whether it is that you sand it down. I'm not a DIY type of girl, so I'm just going off the cuff here. Whether you sand it down and then you get the paint and you paint it, you restore it either to its former beauty, or maybe you restore it to something that is improved and uplifted, or looks just a little bit nicer and a little bit more chic. Whatever the process is, you do have to strip away, you do have to strip away the old in order to bring out the new. Remember that. You got to strip away the old in order to bring out the new. So as we've talked about the different elements of care, restoration of your mind, body, and soul is a very important and key element in this self-care journey. So when we restore our mind, what does that mean? What does that look like? There is a Bible verse that says, be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Now, whether or not you are a Bible believer or not, being transformed by renewing your mind means what? Shifting your mindset. So are you a person with a fixed mindset, or do you have a growth mindset? Do you look at things in terms of being static? Like, I can't do that. I don't know how. I'm not going to learn. That's just too new. Like, not going to do it. You get all kind of freaked out about it. Or do you say, well, how can I? Your mind is such a powerful thing. Your thoughts, your words are so powerful in how you can view your life and the things that you're capable of doing. I'm going to give you a quick example, and it's personal. So for the longest time, I've been saying, I think I shared this last episode, I'm not sure, but that I want to start a podcast. I have been on social media, showing up on social media in different capacities, but I wanted to kind of put all the things that I say in a place where they could live. And I didn't know how to do it, but I kept speaking it into existence. I kept talking about, well, I want to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast. It's not the only thing I've spoken into existence. And I found myself at a conference a few months ago, and an individual, she said something which literally has transformed me, because here I am doing a podcast. So you can speak the things that you want, even though you might not know how. You can speak them out. And I promise you, the universe, God will align itself to give you the opportunities to do so. So that is a part of renewing your mind, shifting your mindset about how you can do things, the possibility of you doing things, and how you see things. It's reframing the words that you use. I shared that I was told for the longest time in my life, I can't do certain things. I wasn't allowed to do certain things. That really affected my confidence. So I was super shy, extremely introverted. My friends who know me now can't even conceive of that to be true. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't even know it to be true either. But I was very shy. And so I had to shift my mindset about that word. I don't even use that word shy in my vocabulary, only when I'm referring to my former self. Because why? I had been renewed by transforming my mind. That's the first part of restoration. So renewing, transforming your mind. The second step is a restoration of your body. So are you even shuddering when I say, okay, you got to restore your body? And you're like, oh my God, is she going to talk about exercising? Kinda. Here's how I'm going to say it. If the word exercise makes you go all cringy and like, I don't have time for that, where in my day would I fit exercising? I already have this on my plate, that on my plate. I got to take care of my mom. I got to go take care of my dad. I've got to pick up kids. I've got work. Don't you know I have this project? Where would I find time to exercise? Shift the word exercise. Simple as that. And rather than saying exercise, how can you move? What? Move? Yes. How can you incorporate movement into your day? Something as simple as getting your favorite playlist of songs in the morning when you get up and you play that music, that playlist to invigorate your body. What happens when you move? You become a lot more flexible. You become a lot more limber. If you are sitting, daily at your chair on a couch, not moving, of course you're going to be stiff. Of course those limbs are going to be difficult to move. So you don't have to run out and get a gym membership. I ain't telling you to do all that if that's not what you want to do or that's not what you can do. But you can move, right? So my challenge is find that playlist. Now, you might say, Marsha, I'm not a dancer. I don't know how to move. It don't matter. Ain't nobody looking at you anyways. So you can just dance in the comforts of your home and be good. What happens when you dance? You start to breathe. When you breathe, you invite oxygen. Oxygen is life. And now suddenly you are breathing life into your cells and you are restoring those things that were old and creaky inside your body. You're restoring and giving it life by just simply moving. That is a positive reframe, shifting the mind on exercising. All right. Now, next thing is restoration of your soul. This makes me feel all warm inside. When I talk about restoration of your soul, it is really about being present and in the moment. Have you ever gone out for dinner and seen people that are like scrolling on their phones and they grab their phone and there's a whole bunch of them and nobody's really paying attention to anybody? Have you ever seen that happen? I've seen it. We go out to eat and I'd be looking at people. I'm like, how are you being present to the conversation if you are so engrossed, like the whole table? Learn how to put your phone down and be present to the moment. Dial into the people that are around you. Listen to their conversation. Pay attention to what they're saying. That is a small way of restoring because you're not trying to be about somebody else's business on social media or reading an email. No, you have this time where you can sit down and enjoy a good meal or, you're out and about and you can be with other people. Dial into being present to the moment. Self-restoration helps you become a lot more aware to how you feel, to the things you like, to the things you don't like. When we restore our mind, body, and soul, we become more in tune with who we are, right? So another way of self-restoration is something as simple as journaling. You might say, Marsha, I do not have time. I'm not a writer. My spelling is atrocious. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just start to write down how you're feeling, what your thoughts are. Simple thing. Write down what you're grateful for. Gratitude is an amazing way to restore your soul. You start to think about all the craziness going on in our world today, and then you can dial into saying, wow, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the other. I challenge you to dial into that process of gratitude and restoring your soul and being present to the moment, and just see how you are able to shift when we are shifting our mindset, when we shift how we see our bodies, when we shift our souls. Guess what? You get to restore that old thing, that thing that was creaky and negative and just not feeling good about herself, to somebody who now feels invigorated about life when we restore our mind, body, and soul. I forgot to mention about body restoration. Yes, it is about exercising or movement, but it is also about you being in tune to what are you feeding yourself. I mentioned to my clients, I may have said it here before, we don't take care of the things we don't like. I believe I said that last week. So if you really love your body, be aware of what you're feeding your body. I'm not going to go on a tangent about GMO versus non-GMO, all the things. I'm not going to go there. But just be a little bit in tune to what you're feeding yourself. When you're eating certain things, how does it make you feel? Do you feel sluggish? Or do you feel inspired and invigorated because you're like, ooh, that tasted good. That gave me some energy. Or when you ate that thing, like, oh my God, I can hardly move. Or I overdid it. So again, this whole process of self-care and the journey of self-care is really about dialing into your awareness. When you are knowing who you are, when you love who you are, when you are restoring that individual, that is you dialing into you being a lot more aware of who you are. And when you become aware of who you are, how do you think self-care manifests itself for you? It's different for everybody. Your self-care journey is not going to be my self-care journey. I used to be a stick in the mud about you got to do this at this time of the day and you got to follow this process. I'm not so stuck on that anymore. I had a class where I taught a group of women. It was called The Masterful Morning, and it was discovering the power of self-care. So really diving into what that looked like. And every week was an 8-week class. We talked about the different elements of how you discover self-care. And I have a client who was a part of that class, and I taught it maybe 2 years ago. And she said to me, she's like, Marsha, you taught me what self-care looks like for me. And she's like, every morning that I can go outside and I can put my feet in the grass and I can look up at the sun and just have a few minutes of gratitude, she's like, that has transformed my life. I'm so grateful to the class. So now what I realized is that she's become aware of just a small thing and how that has transformed how she shows up, how she starts her day. And it has made her a better person. So what I'm going to invite you to do today is go to my website, marshaterry.com, and download a worksheet. It's a very simple worksheet. It's a one-page thing. It's fillable for those of you that don't want to print anything. And you can just type on there the answers to the questions so that you can be a little bit more aware of what self-care looks like for you. It's a very easy worksheet. And I invite you to drop a comment below and share with me what inspired you about today. How are you going to incorporate restoration, or what are you going to do to restore your mind, body, and soul today? What's that one tiny action that you're going to take today? Again, make sure you like, subscribe, invite other people to the community so that we can grow our community and help other people discover this powerful thing of the self-care framework. Have an amazing day. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you next time, where we will talk about what the E in the self-care, which is an acronym, framework means. I'm so excited about it, and I look forward to sharing that with you all. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.